Okay, so all set to go. So before I go to the class today, I would like to show you a brief presentation. Presentation means how over the internet you can search uh, the information related to the disaster. Okay, so as I said, there are many disaster databases, and one of them is known as EMDAT. Okay, just I use one sketchboard here. Wait a minute. Just a moment. Okay, so you can see the screen, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Oh. So can you see what I'm writing here on the screen? Can you hear? Hello, hello.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Why? No sound. Oh, can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir. Yes. Hello.
Yes, somebody speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Good, good. Okay, okay. So can you see here I'm writing two words, EMDAT, on the screen. Huh? I hope you can see
Sir,
EMDAT.
can see your screen.
I see. Okay, anyway, how about now? Can you see my Google?
No, it's blank, sir. Blank.
Wait a minute then.
Now, sir, we can see, sir.
Okay, okay, good. So today I will show you how to search the database in EMDAT regarding disaster data. Okay. So for that, you can also do it by your own. Suppose you want to know about the number of deaths in the past 10 years due to some kind of a disaster or any other information, and then this information you want for your research or for some of your own purpose. So you have to finally go to some of the databases, disaster databases. There are many, but one very important is known as EMDAT. EMDAT. DAT. So you type in Google EMDAT and then click here, and then you see EMDAT, the International Disaster Database. And you open it. I go to this tab. Okay, so this is the home page of EMDAT. So here it is written, the International Disaster Database. Okay, so in EMDAT, there are many sections. So particularly if you want to look for some data for your own purpose, then you go to database and then go to consult the database, as I am here, as you can see. So if you click there, it says service unavailable on that particular home page, but then they give you another redirected page, that is public.emdat.be. .be is actually, it is hosted in Belgium. Yeah, so it is in Europe. So I click here and then I go to another page, this one. So I can also share with you the link to the page. So I am sharing it in the WhatsApp group. So this is the link for the EMDAT database page. Okay. So I hope you can see it, right? So before you can search in this EMDAT page, you have to first register yourself. So you have to give your credentials, and then there will be an email where they will send you the link for you to use the page. So you have to click and then verify yourself. Once you do all those things, then you have to sign in to the page. For example, here on the right hand side of the screen, as you see my name, and that means I am already signed on with my account. So if I am signing on with my account, I can go to search the disaster data. So for example, I go to this mapping tool, okay, and then I can go to the national level. Click there. Wait a minute. Yes. So can you see on the screen those maps? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you see, so this is a database that is keeping record of all the disasters that have happened all over the globe. Okay, you see that says global occurrences from natural disasters starting from 1900 to 2021. So it is almost more than 100 years of data they have. It is a huge database. So, for example, if you want to look for a particular disaster, especially maybe for our country, then here you can see natural and technological on the left hand side under classification. So I go to natural, and then in the subgroup, these are the different subgroups of our natural hazards or disaster, whatever we want to say at this point in time. So I go and then click hydrological. That will include floods and other things. And then type, you see floods and landslides also included. So I click on floods. Then subtype, riverine flood, flash flood, coastal flood. So for example, let us see flash flood. So what is a flash flood? It is a flood that occurs within 6 hours of rainfall. So it is quite familiar in areas where you have a lot of hills. Okay, and our northeastern states, we have many flash floods. And there you see disaster measure, occurrence, total number of deaths, total affected, total estimated damage. So you can click any of the parameters, whatever you want. Then suppose I want to look for the total number of deaths. So I go there, and then let us reduce this time span from suppose 2010 to 2020. So like this, okay? So it gives you in sort of interactive way in terms of maps. So they have a geo server there where they actually show you this database in terms of maps, and then with the maps there is a legend on the left hand side. So on the legend there is a legend, as you can see. So if it is from 0 to 560 number of deaths, it's shown in the light yellow color. So accordingly you can see the numbers and the colors. So look at for India. So for India, it is greenish color. That means we are in this category around 561 to 1120 number of deaths. And in which period of time? From 2010 to 2020. So you can also check for other types of disasters. For example, if I want to see particular other disaster such as geophysical disasters, I go there, and then under geophysical disasters there may be earthquakes, volcanic activity. So let us go for earthquakes. and then it has also some subtypes, ground movement, and then tsunami. So go for ground movement, and then also I look into the same parameter as total number of deaths. So here you see um, total in terms of deaths, India and China and Myanmar, all these countries more or less are within the same range. Okay, but if you want to go for a bigger time span, things may change. So let us check from 1950 to 2020. Okay, so you see now the color of the maps have changed, which is an indication that in China we have a lot of higher blue color. Almost 320,000 and 400,000 people have died. And then this thing is also given by some bar diagrams. Here you see from 1950 to 2020, in China, deaths totaling to 371,209. Then second is in Haiti. Haiti, actually, there was a very strong earthquake, I think in 2007. So many people were killed. So that is adding up to this huge number. Then again, Iran, Pakistan, Peru, and India is actually in the sixth or seventh place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth place. So total number of people died due to earthquakes in India is 35,222. So this is from 1950 to 2020. So if you want this same information in terms of PDF or in terms of an image, you can click there, then you can use it for your own research purpose. Okay. Okay, so my suggestion to you is sometimes you go and then check by yourself some kind of disasters that you may be interested in. Look in, here. Okay. Okay. So next, wait, I will be sharing you my presentation. How to stop? Okay, share content. I am sharing the presentation. So can you see the presentation right now? Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so in the last class, we stopped explaining what was the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So Sendai framework was a global consensus which was agreed upon by the United Nations for all the countries, initially in form of a conference that held in Sendai in Japan in 2015. And they had these 15 years of goals which they have set. And then these priorities areas have been set where all the countries will work together to achieve the disaster risk reduction. Okay, so this video we checked. And then also, India also is a signatory of our Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So we are also working for disaster risk reduction in accordance with the goals set by Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. And then we have to monitor ourselves how far we are uh, going in that direction. Okay. So priority areas and then the goals all were set of the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction. So after the Sendai framework, many other global conferences and summits have been arranged. So to name a few, there was one happened in Copenhagen in Denmark, and then after that in 2016 there was the Paris Agreement. So all related to how to minimize the global temperature or average temperature in order to curb the climate change effects. So we have different agendas, but ultimately it is within the bigger purview of disaster risk reduction. Okay. So let us come back to India now. So we will be focusing on what are the disaster risk reduction initiatives taken up by our country, and then how long it has been actually in place in India. So if you look at the slide here, there you will see that I am showing one map. So the map is focusing on Gujarat. So what happened in 2001, in 26th of January, so maybe that time you may be young kids or maybe you have not yet born, I don't know. So it was our Republic Day in 26th of January, and then everything was arranged for the Republic Day celebration. People were gluing on to the television sets. And then suddenly there was a huge earthquake that came in Bhuj in Gujarat the same day. Uh, just people were about to hoist the flag. So, in terms of the magnitude, the earthquake was not very big or catastrophic. On the Richter scale, it was around 6.9. Okay, the recent earthquake in Assam was about 6.4 or 6.5. Somebody said. So it was bigger than that, but it was not again within the category of catastrophic or very severe earthquakes. But what happened due to the existing vulnerability of the buildings, or you can say physical vulnerability of the buildings, because the buildings were constructed not conforming to the building codes or the norms that usually should have been at place. Many people were killed. An official estimate is 14,000, but many more than that actually lost their lives. And then around 160,000 people were injured, and almost all the houses in that province and within maybe 100 kilometers of that range in Bhuj were either completely damaged or sustained some level of damage. So it was a major blow to the entire uh, disaster risk reduction uh, framework in India up till then, because till 2001 or in 2001, we were focusing on managing the crisis. That means if there would be a disaster that will strike, if there would have been a disaster, then the framework was such that the government and the government machinery, the logistics, and everything would be at place, focusing on how to manage the crisis or what would be the immediate response, how people will be pulled out, how to save the lives, how to give shelter to the people, how to supply medicines. So it was mostly focused on that particular phase of disaster risk reduction cycle, which is more or less or mostly concentrated on the emergency management phase. The other four phases of disaster risk reduction, or I can say other three important phases of disaster risk reduction, namely the mitigation, preparedness, were neglected. And because of that, a lot of people were actually killed. So one of the examples is the Bhuj earthquake. So why so many people died? Because the buildings which were constructed were not conforming to the norms. So if you're not constructing a building according to the norms prescribed by the building codes, then you are violating which phase of disaster risk reduction? You are violating the preparedness phase, okay? Or you can say you are violating, not confirming the mitigation part of the disaster risk reduction. So even the government machineries, they overlooked this particular phase. And then you can see the result was huge amount of loss in terms of lives and then property. So again, there are not the only instances where India sustained losses during the earthquakes. So if you look at the historical earthquakes, which is given by the Indian Meteorological Department and US Geological Survey, it says in 1988 there were another earthquake came in the Bihar and Nepal border with a magnitude 6.4. 1991 6.6, Maharashtra in 1993 6.3, more or less in the same range. But here you see the Gujarat earthquake is categorized as 7.7. But I think this is a little bit doubtful. If you look at the same map here on the top, it says it was 6.9. So even then, it is a bigger earthquake, and then because of the existing vulnerabilities or the physical vulnerabilities of the buildings, many people lost their lives. So it was a big lesson for our country. Then, again, in the same Indian context, uh, uh, we actually suffered in 2006. That means in 2001, this Bhuj earthquake, and then 2006. What happened in 2006? In 26 on 26 December, there was the big Indian Ocean tsunami. So even during the tsunami, we actually were on the same framework of which actually focused on crisis management rather than focusing on the mitigation or the preparedness stage of disaster risk reduction. So we had two big lessons that we learned. And then we thought, or the government of India thought, that it is a high time that there must be something to be done in order to change the approach towards disaster risk reduction. So, with that view, India formed the National Disaster Management Act, or it was passed in Parliament, and then it was in 2005. Okay, so in that point of time, yeah, it became a law. So in 2005, the National Disaster Management Act was enacted in 2005, and then on the right hand side you see a copy of that. You see Ministry of Law and Justice, Legislative Department, New Delhi, the Disaster Management Act of 2005. So here it had laid the foundation for a comprehensive or a complete framework to be made in order to tackle the disasters which were anticipated farther into the future. So with that, uh, with the groundwork being laid, then the next thing was the creation of National Disaster Management Authority. So we created this authority, or the government created this authority with the base or the basis of the National Disaster Management Act. National Disaster Management Authority is the prime responsible organization now who will look after the disasters, and then this will be responsible for implementing all the phases of disaster risk reduction, not only alone but together with help of some definite structures within the authority and then other departments and ministries. Okay. So immediately you have made this authority, and then what will be the money that will come from? So in order to cater for the money, there was also a provision which was arranged by the Finance Commission, and then it was there to mandate the review of the financial arrangement for disaster management for uh, the disasters that were anticipated. So it was the 12th Finance Commission. Okay. And then the National Disaster Management Act in 2005 was the groundwork which was being laid, and then it was seen, or first it was talked about in the 10th 5-year plan document from 2002 to 2007. That means after the Bhuj earthquake, it came in 2001. The next 5-year plan in 2002 to 2007, there were discussions or provisions for laying the foundations of this disaster management act. Okay, then itself in the plan, you will see there was one huge chapter which was particularly dedicated to disaster management in India, how the government will be uh, establishing this new framework of disaster risk management or disaster risk reduction. So there itself, if you look into the 10th 5-year plan document, which is also available on the internet, it is written, I am not quoting the whole thing, just the important thing. It says disaster management, if not disaster relief, must therefore form an integral element of national planning. So this is for the first time we gave serious thoughts about planning before disasters. Okay. So since 2005, NDMA was formed with this vision. So what was the vision? The vision was to build a safer and disaster resilient India. Now you know what is resilient. You cannot prevent disasters all throughout, but you can make the country resilient or the people or the communities resilient by a holistic, proactive, technology driven, and sustainable development strategy that involves all stakeholders and fosters the culture of prevention. So, you see, the highlight is on prevention. That means you have to do a lot of things even before the disaster happens. Preparedness and mitigation. So these 3 phases now you see in the disaster risk reduction cycle were mostly given emphasis in the vision document of NDMA. Okay. Uh, so the structure of NDMA is here, as you can see the slide. Our Honorable Prime Minister is by his office becomes the chairperson of NDMA. So the chairperson gets the report from the vice chairperson, who should be one cabinet minister. So including the cabinet minister, there are 8 members which are picked up from other ministers of states. They form the topmost tier of our NDMA. So even now in the COVID situation, you often see our prime minister uh, giving his vision, which way we are heading, okay, and then what should be the preparedness we should be going for. Uh, what are the challenges? So these kind of things, why he comes. So because he is the chairperson of the NDMA or National Disaster Management Authority. Okay, NDMA does not act alone, as I said. There is a National Executive Committee which comprises of the representatives from ministries and departments. What are the departments? These departments are agriculture, atomic energy, defense, water supply, environment and forest, finance and expenditure, health, power, rural development, space and technology, telecommunication, etc. So, from these departments, there is another committee which is being formed, which is known as the National Executive Committee. And National Executive Committee is directly under the 8 member states plus the vice chairman. Okay, so there are some advisory committees also. Plus, there is another 2 other important committees, or you can say subheadings under NDMA, which is known as NIDM, and the other one is NDRF. NIDM stands for National Institute of Disaster Management, which is head office at Delhi. And then NDRF is the response force, or you can say National Disaster Response Force. So why these 2 departments are there? NIDM is mostly involved in the human resource development. Okay, so they look after the intelligence. They look after the development of the capacities of people who will be working for NDME. So they train people, they raise awareness among communities. Okay, these kind of things they keep on doing. And then what is NDRF? NDRF is the response force, mostly comprised of the military and army people. So whenever disaster strikes, they are the prime agency to respond. Okay, so that's why you see military people or the NDRF people coming with boats during the time when there is a flood, or even during the time of an earthquake. They will be the first responders. They will be the one who will come with the equipment for response and recovery. Okay, so this is at the national level. There are the similar management which is being provisioned at the state level, which is known as the State Disaster Management Authority. It is a similar structure. Chairman is the Chief Minister of the state, and there are other 9 member bodies. Okay, so in detail, I have not shown it here, but you can get this information on the internet. Then also, this is the second tier or second layer of management. Then the third layer is the district level. So at the district level, it is called as the District Disaster Management Authority. It is who is the chairperson? The chairperson is the who is the chairperson? District magistrate. Okay, and then it comprises of the representatives from the civil administration, and then it includes 7 member body. So again, there is another tier level of in the structure, which is I described as the uh, local authority, where mostly the CBDRM activities take place or the communities are involved. Okay, so at the national level, you saw the National Executive Committee or the NEC. It says an NEC or the National Executive Committee is constituted under section these and these of the Disaster Management Act. This is to assist the national authority in the performance of its function. Then Union Home Secretary is the ex officio chairperson. Ex officio means by simply becoming the Union Home Secretary, he or she will be the chairperson because of his office, okay, ex officio of NEC. Then NEC has been given the responsibility to act as the coordinating and the monitoring body for disaster management. These are the ones who also prepare the national plan, monitor the implementation of national policy, etc., and so on and so forth. So ultimately, this National Executive Committee that you see on the left hand side is the key committee which is responsible for the planning purpose. Also, who will look after the implementation and monitoring, how things are being implemented, what is the efficiency this machine is running. So they will give reports also. Then, as I said, NIDM comes next. NIDM is the NIDM is responsible for development of human resource. They train people. They build the capacities. Okay, those kind of things they engage. Uh, Human resource development and capacity building for disaster management within the board policies and guidelines laid down by the NDMA. So this is under NDMA, NIDM. They are responsible for human resource development. Then comes the NDRF for National Disaster Response Force, mostly comprised of young people, military, specialized forces, those kind of things. NDRF is specialized force for disaster response, which works under the overall supervision and control of NDMA. So again, it is another body under NDMA, which is responsible for response. At the district level, or sorry, at the state level now, we have the similar structure. State Disaster Management Authority headed by the Chief Minister and the representatives of particular states. It lays down the policies and plans in the state level. And for the state level, these policies are laid down by the SDMA. And who is the chairperson? care person is the chief minister. It is also responsible to coordinate, implement state level plans. Okay, so particularly if there is a flood at a particular state, immediately the responsible person first will be at the district level or the particular district. So if the district is uh, not being able to handle it, then the state will jump into it. And then if it is beyond the scope for the state to manage, then the national level emergency will be declared for that particular district, or you can say for the particular state. And then it will be the first and foremost will be the district level authorities that will jump into, or they will be the first one to react to the response or the mitigation part. Okay.
Sir,
Oh.
can I ask one question, sir?
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, can state disaster management, body can resist the central, disaster management policy? Suppose in this COVID also, maximum of states of the India are, you know, uh, have affected very highly, but some states are there like Sikkim, like even in Arunachal, they has effect very less. So if central government release the policy uh, for all India, but can state government make that policy suitable for the specific states?
Yes. Yeah, that is actually the order. So first, the national level, the policies will be formulated. Then at the state level, policies will be formulated for the particular state that which will be in line with the policies in the national level. So we cannot really prescribe at the state level or at the district level a policy that is not aligning with the national level policies. Okay. So what particular example that you gave in this case in the COVID situation? I just missed it. In Arunachal Pradesh, there are less number of COVID patients, but so what was the question in that line?
No. Just like if central national disaster management committee order that every no, India should be locked down and all. So in
Oh,
that case,
uh,
states like Sikkim, Arunachal, maybe it is not necessary to do
and
that.
no, it is the other way around. So if first of all the state will decide, okay, but if there is a central uh, order coming from the top, and then in this case, since it is being a national emergency, or if you can say this is a world emergency, so the control is sometimes taken over by the country at the national level. In that case, we have to abide by the plans laid down by the national level. So we try to align our plans and policies in accordance with the national plans and policies in that case. But normally, it is not really imposed at the state level. So states are at liberty to some extent to determine what would be the best plans and policies in order to tackle a disaster at the state level. So if it is seen that if the state is not being able to do it, then at that point of time, there may be some national enforcement coming from the top in that case. Similar is the thing with the disasters at the district level. So first will be the
So
districts. Yeah.
first will be from the grass level.
First will be the mostly the as I said the local level. So local
Okay.
levels, if it is can be managed at the local level, so it is okay. That is why the gram panchayats are there, or the local level NGOs, or you can say other institutions. So if it can be managed at the local level, it is let uh, it is best. It gets managed at the local level. That is why CBDRM is nowadays much talked about subject, because the communities, they know what is best for themselves. What is the best solution for a particular community comes from the community itself. They are also included in the disaster risk reduction cycle. And if not, they are, it is tried best to include the communities at the local level in the mitigation, or you can say in the preparedness level itself. But sometimes it is not always possible. So in cases of response or in cases of recovery, you cannot do it at the local level. So at that point of time, the NDR comes into play, which is directly from the central level. Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Ah. So this is for the state level, as you can see, as DMA, known as this, and then similar to NEC, it is the SEC at the state level. At the district level, the who is the chairperson? The district magistrate is the chairperson, or the deputy controller, or the district collector. Sorry, deputy commissioner heads the authority as the chairperson. So any one of them, besides any elected representatives of the local authority as co-chairperson. Okay, but in cases of tribal areas where the chief executive member of the district council of autonomous district is designated as co-chairperson. So in cases of tribal areas, the co-chairperson will be uh, the district council, or you can say the chief executive member of the district council of that autonomous district. Okay, so there are involvement of the Jilla Parishad also. Okay, so I think we will be shortly over anyway. So further in the district where Jilla Parishad is there, that its chairperson shall be the co-chairperson of DDMA. So if there is Jilla Parishad, but if there is no Jilla Parishad, then the district magistrate or the deputy commissioner will take control. The district authority is responsible for planning, coordination, and implementation of disaster management and to take such measures for disaster management as provided in the guidelines at the district level. So I think we have these management, we have these planning documents, which I will try to download and then I will let you to go through it. So if you read these planning documents for the particular district or for the particular state, which is laid down by the district authority or the state authority, then the responsibilities would be a little bit clearer to you. Okay. The district authority also has the power to examine the construction in any new area in the district and for the safety standards. They arrange for relief measures. You see, they can also, by themselves at the district level, arrange for relief measures. And also they can respond to the disaster at the district level. So at the district level, if the response is arranged, it will be directed by the deputy commissioner or by the district collector or the district magistrate, who is the chairperson, and then under the body of DDMA. Okay, so we are going towards the end, and then you see the functions and responsibilities of NDMA. So there are a lot of these which I have laid down here. First of all, approve the national disaster plan. Okay, so who lays the plan? The plan is laid down by the NEC, the National Executive Committee, but it is ultimately approved by NDMA. Then what they do, they lay down policies on disaster management. You see, policies are the work of NDMA. According to the policies, the NEC will prepare the plans. Again, the plans should be approved by NDMA. So this is like a cycle. Okay? Then approved plans prepared by other ministries. And NEC, as you said, there are other ministries of departments, such which should be in accordance with the national plan. So ultimately, they will have a plan, and in line with the plan, the other ministries which are under NEC will prepare their plans, and then it will be again approved by the NDMA. They will also lay down guidelines. So some of the guidelines to be followed by states. You see, so the states sometimes have to abide by the guidelines in preparation of their state plan. They will also lay down guidelines to be followed by different ministries or departments. Okay. So particularly for the purpose of integrating measures for disaster prevention or mitigation of its effect in their developmental plans and projects. So sometimes you see disaster management is not like a standalone thing. Disaster management nowadays is integrated with the developmental plans. So you want to develop a particular area or you want to develop a particular state. So within that state, how far you have been able to integrate the plans of disaster risk reduction. So that is nowadays quite importantly scrutinized by these monitoring agencies. So that means if you want to really prepare, suppose you want to construct a building for a marketplace where it should not have been constructed. If in the construction practice you were constructing a building maybe 10 stories in the vicinity of or in the middle of a very biodiversity area, then probably this will not be in accordance with the plans and policies laid down by the NDMA. So this will be again scrutinized. They will come into force and then say, oh no, you cannot do it. Okay, and then similar projects. So not only because projects are considered as a part of the developmental practices or developmental plans. So this is now why it is becoming very important for all these projects to be undergoing the scrutiny, whether it is being able to integrate development together with disaster management or mitigation. Then again, coordinate enforcement and implementation of disaster management policy and plan. So again, they'll have to coordinate among different departments